Hi, I'm Josh Gearbunda,
And I'm Adam Hoffman.
and we're both boat captains for the Urban Wilderness Canoe Adventures program. The point of this video is to break down and discuss the finer aspects of leading a UWCA group. In this video, we'll discuss introductions, safety and paddle talks, icebreakers, and wrapping up a trip. So let's start with introductions.
So first off, when you start your introduction, you're really going to want to make sure that you bring a lot of high positive energy into the group. Make sure that you're using some great body language and that you're just really trying to spread that high energy to the entire group, because some of the people might not be all that excited to be there. Location
is really important, especially on warm days. You want to find a location to put your group out of the sun, or in some aspects, sometimes you'll have to find somewhere away from wind so that people can actually hear you.
So with the position, you're really going to want to make sure that you are in a place where you can project your voice to the whole entire group. Like Josh was saying with positioning yourself in the shade, sometimes you have a group that's really big, maybe around 200 people, and you're trying to talk to them all at once. Not everyone's going to fit in the shade, so I like to put myself facing the sun at all times, so that way the participants don't have to squint into the sun while they're listening to you. I also like to include myself as part of the circle versus inside of the circle, just because sometimes people behind me can't hear my voice very well, and that way everyone is in front of me and everyone's able to hear my voice well the whole time.
Now, when you're thinking about messaging, how to frame your message, a few things you should keep in mind. I like to think of them as the who, what, where, when, and why. If you hit on those aspects, it's really going to help set your group up for what to expect that day.
So you're really also going to want to focus on attention. This goes along with the energy, the location, and the position. You're going to want to make sure that you have gained the attention of the group when you start, and you're going to want to make sure that you keep that attention the whole time. Try and keep things moving fluidly, and try and just use your positive energy to keep the group focused on you.
So that's a pretty standard introduction. Let's discuss some of the finer points of a safety and paddle talk.
So with the paddle talk, I like to start off with the group in a circle. And first off, what I do is I say, okay, everybody give a right-handed thumbs up. And everyone has a paddle standing in front of them. They're usually holding onto the paddle then with their other hand. They have a right-handed thumbs up. Then I say, all right, everybody, I want you to take that paddle and put it in that hand so your thumb is still pointed up while you have the paddle in your hand. Then everyone has that. Then I say, okay, notice how your hand is on the shaft of the paddle. Make sure it's down towards the bottom, towards the blade, not too far down and not way up on the top, just like how mine is. And I check the whole group, make sure everyone's good. Then I say, okay, now look up at the top. You have a T-grip up on top. You want to make sure that you orientate the paddle so it looks like a T-grip to you. If you can't see the T-shape, make it look like a T to you. Now take your left hand, and I want you to give that T-grip a high five, thumb going right underneath, fingers wrapping right over the top, and this is how it should be. You should always be able to see the back of your hand. If you see your fingers, then you got to switch your hand around. Really want to make sure that everyone's got this grip down. It's really easy for kids to get confused, even adults to get confused. A lot of times you'll see hand backwards, you'll see this hand upside down. You'll switch them, make sure other WI people are around, making adjustments as this is taking place. After that, then I tell everybody, okay, let's take our arms, let's put them down by our sides. Notice that the paddle blade is now on my right side. For this demonstration, that's which side of the boat we're going to be paddling on. Now I'm going to take the paddle, I'm going to stick it out in front of me as far as I can. Notice that my right arm here is straight, is extended as far as I can. I got the paddle almost completely vertical. I'm reaching out past my toes. Now I'm going to stick it into the water. I'm going to pull that paddle towards my seat, and then I'm going to be done. And everyone's going to be like, no, you're not going to be done. What are you talking about? So then I'm going to say, oh, I have to do that over again? And they're going to be like, yeah, you're going to have to do that over again. So then I stick the paddle out there again, and I do it over again. Notice how I'm bringing the paddle just right across my lap each time, and then I stick it into the water. And then I usually ask, who here likes pizza? And it takes a second for that to process, and then one or two of them's like, well, I like pizza. Yeah, I like it too. Well, I love it. So has anyone here ever been to like a brick fire or wood fire pizza place? Yeah, a few of them. So when you're there and you notice that they can't get near that oven because it's so hot, they have to use this big paddle. And it looks pretty similar to the paddles that we're using. But what they do is when they take a pizza, they put it on the paddle and they stick it into that oven. And they have to have that paddle very flat when they put it in there. Otherwise, the pizza's going to fall off. So imagine when we're paddling that you have been suddenly transported into a pizza oven, factory, pizzeria place, whatever you want to call it. And when you're paddling, you're saying to yourself or out loud, paddle, paddle, paddle. And then you take your paddle and you make sure it's nice and flat because you're at the pizzeria and you say pizza, pizza, pizza. When you get the paddle up towards your feet, you're just going to dump that pizza right in the lake or river and you're just going to do it over again. So paddle, 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 pizza, 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 paddle, 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 pizza, pizza, pizza. This really helps everyone to get a good form, to remember what they're doing and to remember how to have their paddle positioned in and out of the water. Now I want everybody to switch hands, switch to your left hand down on the bottom, right hand giving that T-grip a high five, do a few forward paddle strokes, and then do a few back paddle strokes. Everyone's got a pretty good hand of it. Some kids will ask, well, what if I'm right-handed? Well, note that some people will be sitting on the right side, some people will be sitting on the left side. We'll determine that when we get down to the boat.
Excellent. So now that they have their paddle talk taken care of, we go right into the safety talk.
Can you canoe on a little boat built for two?
The safety talk, we try to keep it really simple. So there's really 3 rules that we'd like to discuss. First rule has to do with the life jacket, or how we usually phrase it, the personal flotation device, the PFD. The first rule is the PFD needs to be zipped and clipped. And we sometimes talk about it. The PFD is a tool, and if we don't use the tool correctly, it can't work. So sometimes I'll model that by not wearing it correctly and say, what do you think? Do you think it'll work now? And the kids will be like, no. So again, first rule is zipped and clipped. So then I role model how it looks. Then I ask them to check themselves. And a good way to check yourself is just to pull up on the shoulder straps, and if the life jacket can go over your ears, it's too loose. So we have, first one is zipped and clipped. The second rule is there's no standing in the boats. And the way we like to remember this is stay low, go slow. That applies really to loading and unloading the watercraft. They'll have their life jacket on, but we usually use step stools to get in and out of the boat. Sometimes we'll use docks. The easiest way to not cause the boat to rock is to stay low, go slow. And then you don't stand up when you're in the boat at any time. First rule, zipped and clipped. Second rule, stay low, go slow. If you stand up in the boat, you rock the boat. Makes for a great song, but let's not do it. Third rule is listen to your boat captain. And that one's a really kind of generic rule, but the reason why I say listen to the boat captain is because on the water, the boat captain is in charge. And you want to make that to be kind of the authority moving forward when people get into the canoe. Zipped and clipped, stay low, go slow, and listen to your boat captain. And that's your safety talk. My go-to icebreaker is a game called Catch. It's really simple. You can do it with many different locations. And I'll just go talk about how the game is facilitated. So first you have your group make a circle. And it has to be a circle where they're almost elbow distance apart, not too far apart. Then you say, with their right hand, have them use their pointer finger and put that in the air. Great. Once they do that, have them take their left hand and put their left hand in front of them, palm out. Great. Now what you want to do is you want to orientate their left palm so it's right next to their neighbor on their left side. And we'll kind of demonstrate it, just like this. As a facilitator, it really works really well if you have somebody demonstrating the game with you. And now everyone in the circle should have their index finger in the middle of the palm of their neighbor, like this. Now, the rules are really simple. They need to keep their palm super flat. On the count of 3, I'll say 1, 2, 3, and then I'll say catch. And when I say catch, what I would like them to do is pull up their pointer finger, but try to catch their neighbor's finger at the same time. So it's a game about reflexes. It's a game about listening. It also breaks down barriers, the touch barrier that people sometimes have with each other. And it also gets to break the tension and get people distracted from their fear about getting on the water, their fear about not knowing their neighbor or knowing their neighbor, whatever it may be. And it's a quick and easy icebreaker to use in many different locations. All right, now that we have talked about introductions, icebreakers, safety and paddle talk, let's talk about wrapping up a trip.
So with the wrap up, it's going to go pretty similarly to the introduction. You're going to get the whole group back up into a big circle. Again, thinking about your positioning, thinking about where you're standing, where you're going to have the whole group do it. Usually it's in the same place that you had your introduction. And generally I start off with, who here did something for the first time today? Like, who here went paddling for the first time? You get some hands. And then, who here caught a fish for the first time? Who here, et cetera, et cetera. Get people talking. And I usually have a pretty open dialogue when I do this. I want to make sure that we're thanking all of our partners that are with us. Want to make sure that we're thanking the students for being there, that they were the most important piece of the whole entire trip. And want to make sure that we're encouraging them to go back out into their parks, giving them a sense of place and ownership with the parks that they're living around. Anything else, Josh?
No, only thing I want to say is just remember you're an ambassador for the Urban Wilderness Canoe Adventures program, and you're an ambassador for everyone who loves the outdoors. And you may be one of the key gatekeepers for them, introducing them to this experience. So just remember that. And throw passion out there. We talked about that before, but passion goes a long way. And for a lot of the population we work with, they understand what kind of love feels like. And so if you throw that out there, you'll gain a lot more ground when you're facilitating these day trips. So go out there, have fun. I hope these tools and this information has really been helpful. Thank you.
You bet. See you guys.
I wanna fly.